All right. So we are here with Jean Tindle. She owns Spirit Dancer Crystals. She was at the Victory of Light, having all kinds of things there. Some incredible information for us to really get to learn how we can use the tools that we have to really create that change in our lives. So she did a talk on crystal grids to create change. And she also wrote a book called Wisdom of the Grandmothers. So I'd like to hear a little bit, just give us a brief history of you, and then we'll go in and we'll talk about some other things.
Okay, well, I have always loved rocks, of course. Everybody who has a rock business will say that. They used to pick up rocks off the ground and, play with the rocks. And my mom was always dragging me out of the dirt. And so that's really where my interest got started. And many years later, when I was sort of on a break from a corporate job, I decided I wanted to do something fun with my life. And so I got into the crystal business, and I got in through a kind of a back door. I was studying shamanism at the time, and it just got me really in touch with the earth and the energies of the earth. And that sort of just naturally led to my business, actually. When you start doing something you really love, synchronicities happen, and they lead you from one step to the other, and it's kind of magical how things evolve. But so I got into the rock business, and I do healing with stones. I sell them. I work with them. I do all sorts of things with them. I create grids, of course. And so it's just been, it's been an evolution, sort of an organic evolution over the years of, coming to where I am now, which is sort of I'm a business owner. I do healing work and I do readings, and that's what I do. And the book was kind of a complete, I came from left field. I do women's circles, and we were given a task to connect with our grandmothers. And so, and this was only supposed to be for a month. So the woman who leads the circle said, okay, take a picture of each of your grandmothers and sit with it for 5 minutes a day and just ask for guidance and see what happens. And so I did that. I have this big altar, and I did that, and it was, they just started channeling all this information to me. I would ask a question. I just sort of started asking them questions. And then all of a sudden, so I'm just writing what I'm hearing, basically. And it's writing. And about halfway through the month, I thought, oh my God, I think this might be a book. Because I think, the questions I was asking were sort of broad, and they could apply to many people. And so I just, as I was writing the answers, I was thinking, And so I kept it up. And when, the project in the circle ended, and I just kept writing for months. And then, I had to compile it, of course, and edit it down, but it pretty much came in complete. It was very interesting. So the book is more of a heart project for me, and it doesn't really, everybody says, oh, you got to write a book to support your business. Well, I of course did it kind of opposite, but I'm happy with the book, and it's selling pretty well. It's on Amazon, but the business, I love the business too. I love the crystals. I'm easily bored, so I do a lot of things. I think, as a writer, that you get to write about a lot of subjects, and so you can do interesting things with each one of them, I would imagine.
Yeah, I think it's amazing. When it comes to writing, it is what I find when I'm writing and when I'm writing articles for things, that it really is what is right present in front of my face, that it's affecting me right now. And that's where I can dive in the best, and I get the best material from, because it's what's ever present in my life at that point. So whether it's I'm dealing with crazy stuff with my relationships, and I'm like, oh my God, this is how I'm dealing with all this, and these are the steps you need to get through this. Or if it's, like right now I'm working on I was supposed to get it done this weekend, and I have not. But I've got an article that I'm writing about Victory of Light. So I'm working on writing this article and trying to figure out, as I'm talking to everybody now, the incredible synchronicities that happened while I was there, and the people that I met, and the things that I experienced while I was there. And the article is going to be more about that than it is about, just a review of this show, right? Because
that's so much more interesting.
Yeah. So I really, it was incredible to me. Like, one of the things, and, with a festival like that, with so much information, there are so many differing ideas and viewpoints and things like that are happening. I'm a pretty open-minded guy, and I walked into it, and there was, oddly enough, there was one specific person that I was like, I don't know about that guy, right? Who asked me to watch their booth during the weekend while they did their talk? But that guy, right? So I'm like, how does this happen to me? So I really got to sit with him and talk to him and really learn about not just, what he does, but his family. His brother was there. I talked to his brother and got to know his history and how he grew up and all this stuff. And I'm like, who gets this kind of information? I was like, this is incredible to be able to sit there. And it really helped me learn a good lesson for myself. As open-minded as I am, there are still things in my life that I'm very closed off to. And I need to tap into those things so that I have a broader understanding of people's experiences. Because ultimately, I'm a coach, so I'm always helping people that have differing experiences from me. And really being able to tap into that and see it for what it is and not judge it is something that I have to do all the time. And it was a great awareness for me to really connect and see people's intentions, because intentions are everything.
Totally.
It was good. So, okay. So, I brought my little toy. I'll show this now. So
I love that.
I got this at Victory of Light as well, and it is beta quartz. So yeah, really cool. And it's really weird. Like, I got it and it fits like right in my hand, like on either hand. Like, I could put it in the palm of this hand. Really interesting. So it was
people like that. I find that people like it if it fits in the palm. If it fits them, it's like, oh, it's mine.
Yep,
it's like
this is the one.
Yeah, fascinating.
Cool. So you did your talk on crystal grids to create change. So tell us a little bit about that.
So what we were saying before about intention being everything, when you create a grid, it's completely everything. You start with an intention, and the more specific and focused you can be, the more powerful it's going to be. People sort of make the grid, creating grids, it's like, oh, it's some like secret thing that you can do, and it's complicated. And while you can create really complex grids, it's really not that complicated. And it's just a particular configuration of stones set in a particular way to create a specific intention or to create a specific energy. When I do healing work on people, I set the crystals on their body in a grid, basically. And that grid creates an intentional pattern to help their body remember perfect health. That's the easiest, that's a simple, explanation, but that's a grid, and it's created for that intention. Or if it's something specific that I'm doing, it's, for instance, I just worked on an MD actually who was going to have heart surgery, and he wanted to have a quicker recovery. So we worked specifically on his heart. I worked with my partner on that, and that was our intention. And so the grid that ended up on his body was specifically to facilitate quicker healing. But in all cases, it's your intention that's going to drive what you're doing. So for example, you can create a grid in a room to change the energy of the room. There are people who create grids for protection. And so, they'll put stones, I have 2 black tourmalines at my doorway. They just clear negative energy and send it away. And that's a really simple grid. It's one on either side of the door, basically. You can create a grid for to raise the energy of a room. And I have those all over the house, just little, like sparkly grids that, they're little and they sit in the corners and they just raise the energy of the room. When I do workshops, I put 3 amethysts in all 4 corners of the room if I'm in a square room. And that raises the energy and also creates protection. And it sort of allows people to get into their highest form of themselves. So you have more, people are more open, they're more connected, they're more, they're more just willing to connect in a deeper way. So that's another example of a grid. So, you could, what you're doing basically is you're working with your intention and you're working with the stones and you're creating, an energy, and the stones basically hold your focus. They hold your intention and they intensify it.
Yeah, I think that is that when I think about that, and I think about grids and using those for that purpose, it really seems to be a focusing of that intention and really just intensifying that, and that's where it comes in, the different properties of those stones and how those work to really focus those intentions that you're trying to create. So as you place that intention, as you're using those stones in that specific pattern to really focus that energy into the place where it needs to be. Like, for example, every day, I wear an amethyst around my neck, right? I wear that for protection to kind of to capture that negative energy that's around me all the time. I also cleanse it. Usually like once a week, I'll put it in some salt water overnight. So it just cleanses the stone and I'm able to continue using it. So, I do things like that just to make sure that I am at my highest ability to affect change around me. And I'm making sure that I'm as safe as I possibly can be.
Right. So I have one, actually it's sitting right here on the table. So I might just show you, this is a little story to illustrate, what you do with a grid. And it actually just happens to be here. It's this, well, I'll tell you the story. My partner, he has a creative business. He creates jewelry, and he was a few years ago, he was going through kind of a slump. He wasn't really interested. And obviously the financials affect when you're in that space, your financial well-being suffers. And so he did a meditation where he asked to be, he did a meditation where he just opened up to see what was going on. And what his guides showed him was what he calls now the lake of material well-being. And for him, it was this golden orangey color. And they suggested he take a dip in the lake of material well-being. And so he's an interesting dude. But anyway, so he did, he in his meditation, and he just started doing that, daily. And his business, it obviously, you don't know if it's the placebo effect or what it is, but all of a sudden he's like more focused on his creativity. He's finding, jobs are coming, work is coming in, people are buying his jewelry. It's, it just, so every time he gets stuck, he will meditate and just go into the lake of material well-being. So I said, well, we got to create a grid. We need to have the lake of material well-being in our house. So we took this stone, which is a spessartine garnet, which is a really nice orange color, and four raw carnelians. It was just what we had, but I actually have it right here by my desk. And well, it's not really my desk, it's my table, but so I'm reminded when I forget that there's abundance everywhere out there, I can just look at that and say, oh, I should go in the lake now.
See,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, what, just to interject there, what I think is incredible is as a consummate skeptic of lots of things,
Yeah,
what I have found is the truth of all that is that it doesn't really matter, right?
right.
If there is change that happens, it doesn't matter whether it's from this thing or that thing. If it helps somebody, do that, right?
Exactly.
So whether it's the placebo effect or not, if it's helping somebody and it helps them through their process and whatever they need to do to shift their mind to get away from whatever thoughts are controlling that, because ultimately what I find in my coaching is that it comes down to those thoughts, those things that we continue to
Totally.
tell ourselves, and we
Totally.
continue to put ourselves in that place that we create that in our lives because of those thoughts that we are continually manifesting in our mind. So if we can take the time to shift our mindset and to really look at abundance and all of these things that are going to reach us to this higher level, if we can shift that, it doesn't matter what does that. It doesn't matter whether you're standing in a mirror and you chant 3 times, I'm the best there's ever been. Whether it's that, whether it's running and doing a mantra, whether it's grabbing a stone, whatever works for you, do that thing, because that's what's going to get you to that next place. In the group, we're always talking about, how do we get to become more evolved? How do we get to this higher vibration, this higher level? Ultimately, it's whatever way you find, right?
Exactly.
It's
Completely.
whatever resonates with you.
Yes.
So when I talk to other coaches, there's always a stigma like, oh my God, there's only so many people out there. Well, that's a load of crap, right? There's an
There's
infinite
more
amount
than
of
you can
people out
ever handle
there, right?
out there.
And people are going to resonate with me that don't resonate with other people. And people are going to resonate with other people that don't resonate with me. And that is completely fine, right? It's the same thing in any business that you might have. There are going to be 15 other businesses that are very similar to yours, but people are going to resonate with you. And those are your customers. Those are your target market who you have to reach out to. It is really...
Victory of Light is a good example because there were a lot of stone dealers, and I do really well at that show. And I know that the people come to me, they want a certain type of stone, or they know me, or they know, it doesn't matter, but they'll come to me and buy my stones over somebody else's because of that.
Yeah.
It's resonance.
It is. It really is that. And it's, for us as business owners going out there, it is all about opening up and being open to that. That's really going to attract those people to us, really being out there and talking to people and getting to know them and being open and honest with who you are is what draws all those people. Because, we've all been around, the used car salesman, the snake oil guy, right? And it just immediately, that energy shuts people down. So, being and living in our authentic selves, whatever that takes, is really what draws people in and attracts them to us. And it'll attract those people that are, that resonate with us, that are similar, that are looking for those things, that need those things fulfilled in their lives. So
that's it. That's the secret right there. Yeah. It's just, what I did in my talk was I just gave them a few examples of things that they could create, and I set them out on the table, and everybody, it was actually interesting because people were very engaged. They wanted to see everything. Everybody took pictures at the end, of the grids, and I just did really simple ones because I didn't really have a lot of time. But it's interesting because you can do a grid with a stone and a candle, and if that stone is meaningful to you, I actually said, if you want to create some, and this is, again, you're working with, it provides a focus point for you, so that when you come in and you look at that grid that you've set up, for instance, you think, I'm calling in abundance, whatever, or abundance. You just think abundance, and that creates, it just creates that mental, it's a touchstone. It holds holds that energy. So you're looking at it going, abundance. And then abundance just comes because you're not thinking, oh God, I don't have enough money. You're just thinking, material well-being. Okay. So it just works. It works on that, that like over and over and over again. You're looking at this going, Another way you can do it is to, if you want something specific, and I always tell people to be very careful about being really specific, because the universe knows more than you do what you need, or your higher self, or whatever you want to call it. But if you want to be kind of specific, like for instance, if you're calling in a partner and you can't use somebody's name, I always am very careful to say you can't affect another person's free will. It's just, you don't want to get into that. But if you're calling in a partner, you can put down a few things that you would like to see in a partner, for instance, and write them down. And always at the end, I put this or something better, because, it's just an invitation to bring what I need as opposed to what I think I want. And put it under a stone. And I laid out a bunch of pink stones. It doesn't matter if they're meaningful to you; they're going to be meaningful as a holder for that energy. And light a candle every day. Light the candle and just sit there for a minute. That doesn't have to be a long time. And just say, okay, partner, and feel how that would feel, or the feeling is important. And then throughout the day, that energy will be held by those stones. And I think what I've observed over the years is that magic does happen. There's some alchemy that goes on there that is beyond my understanding, of course. And it works. I don't know how, it just works. And like you say, it is intention. But it's also, there's an alchemy that happens with the stones that I have observed over and over again, but don't really completely understand.
Yeah. So I think it's, it's interesting, you're talking about focusing that. And I think about, the universe bringing things in. And one of the things, you talked about how you got to be careful with how you express that. There's lots of people that I know that have expressed, I want to have $1 million, right? They want to have, abundance, wealth abundance, right? Mm-hmm. What they don't realize is that there are things that have to change in your life for that to happen, right? So yes, you may want $1 million, but to get there, you may have to lose everything first, right? Yep. And people don't realize that may be the lesson that they need to learn so that they can move forward and to continue to move in that direction. So just be careful what you're asking for, because the universe will give it to you, but it may not look the same way that you expect.
It almost never does.
Yeah. So it's not like you're going to sit there and imagine, oh my God, I want all this money, and somebody's going to send you a check in the mail tomorrow. That's not how it works. There are lessons that we need to learn that position us for those things. Mm-hmm. And there may be hard lessons that we need to learn in there. Another example of that is when we're looking for a partner, like you mentioned. We might have to learn some lessons to really get us into a place where we can be the person that we need to be for that partner. Exactly. That may be some hard lessons. We may have to learn how to be less selfish and spend our money more wisely so that the right person is attracted to us, so that we're able to be the person that they need us to be to have a good relationship. We wonder why those things fail all the time. And it's because we're not taking the time to really be the person that we need to be for that other person. Right. The sooner that we can look inside and really see who we are and shape ourselves, the better we will be for everybody else.
Absolutely.
And, I mentioned this earlier today, but, it really is true that the only person that we can change or that we can affect really is ourselves, right? We have to make the changes first, and then that bleeds over into everybody else that's around us, because we inadvertently affect them all anyway. But we can't change their ideas. We can't change them as a person. We can't change their mindset. all we can do is change ourselves and let that be the example to everybody else for that kind of change.
Completely.
So, and using the stones and using all that stuff to focus that is just a great way to have some really physical representation of what's happening. And yes, all the stones have different properties. And I mean, you could go on the internet and sit there for hours.
Yes.
Reading
and
about the different
everybody has
things.
a different read of the same stone, too.
My fiance has a book about stones, and it talks about all their properties. And we use that a lot of times because her son early on got really involved into stones and getting geodes and all that. My dad, oddly enough, when I was a kid, used to collect stones all the time and used to get geodes and different big amethysts. And, it's amazing that we're all drawn to those things, right? We're all drawn to the earth ultimately because this is our residence. This is where we live, right? And there is a certain connection that we have to all of those things. And being able to find that, I've seen people, like, I've been down in Gatlinburg, and just south of that, I love to go down to Cherokee, North Carolina. And I have some friends that live down there, and I'll go down there to Cherokee, and they have a gem mining thing. And it's so cool to go down there and mine for those gems and pan it.
Find them,
and find these little things. What's even better than that is when you go down there and you have the Great Smoky Mountains and the water running down the streams, is going down to the stream and finding some incredible gemstones down there. The trick is that you have to know what you're looking for, because obviously when you go to a store and you get this nice little point, they don't come that way most of the time.
No.
So, it's the same thing with any like necklace or anything. People will get this idea that you find these great diamonds and they're just in this shape. No, that was somebody doing that to it. So, you have to be able to, see what you're looking at. We found some really cool amethysts down there and found some really cool emeralds. They don't look like much when you find them, but if you get them polished and everything, they're incredible.
They're beautiful.
But it is just that intention in finding it. What I find is the ones that I find somewhere especially with my fiance, that has so much meaning to me just because we discovered it together. And that intention is so much bigger. So if I go out to a place and we find something and we see it together and we're like, oh my God, that's the one. That, just because of those intentions, has so much more quote unquote magical properties for us.
It does.
Because it's that connection that we have to that material. It's why people save things, right? Why people save their wedding dress.
Of course.
Why they save a cake and put it in their freezer for a year to eat. It's really that association that we have with that thing that changes everything, that pulls us right back into that place where we get exactly what we need.
It holds it in. It holds the energy. It really does. It's I always tell people, any healing work or anything that I do with stones, I could do with my fingers, I could do with my hands, but I like my toys. I like that beauty. I like that, and it does intensify it somewhat, but you can theoretically do the same thing just with you. But it's just so much more fun to have the toys around. So that's my whole thing with stones. But in the beauty, there's a lot of healing in beauty, really.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I always think about that's always really interesting to me is, we talk about there are certain stones that really raise vibration. And I think that that's important to be able to connect with that. And as we're talking about, living these lives that are more evolved, ultimately we're talking about raising our vibration and coming to a better place where we can affect more things, and we're in tune with, whatever higher beings there are to come down and, meet with us. So I think it's important that some of those things really do focus that. They really do take us to that next level of vibration where we can really get into that place, into that mind space where we can connect with other things, where we can connect with other people and, really get those messages. I think that's really interesting to me.
That is amazing. And the thing about all of this, and I don't know, you can tell people this till you're blue in the face, but they have to really be in a place where they can get it. But when you do raise that vibration, and you consistently can stay there, or at least somewhat consistently, this is attraction also in resonance. But you don't necessarily need protection anymore, because the things that you would need protection from can't be in that vibration. They can't exist there. So really, you're. This is getting a little less, but you're creating your world. And how you, like, I tell my partner some days, he can be a little like negative sometimes. And I some days I say, you know what, you're in a different universe than me. He'll see something on the side. We'll be in the same car looking, and he'll see something on the side of the road, and it won't even come into my view. So, and I'm not saying I'm always there, but I'm just saying that when you get to that place consistently, a lot of stuff falls away that is troubling or not. And I don't want to sound Pollyanna. I can't even say that, but I like Pollyanna. But I can't help but know, so on some level, that when you do consistently raise that vibration, you are in connection with something that's lighter, something that's more, and more consistently. And, and that's been my experience too. On days when I'm feeling like crap and I'm just like angry and then that's when, you hit your toe on the way out and you break your coffee mug or whatever. That's when that happens. It's not when you're feeling, oh my God, this is a gorgeous world. It's a beautiful day. That kind of stuff doesn't happen,
I think it's interesting. I do a lot of these crazy events, right? These 60, 70-hour endurance events.
Yes.
I always look at, my motivation for doing these things. And what I find is that there's a certain level in our body, in our humanity, that we need to be down here for a little bit.
Yes.
It doesn't mean that we stay up here, because there are lessons that we learn that we don't learn unless we're down here, right? So there is always going to be this movement that goes up and comes down, because we as human beings, when we're at the mountaintop, we don't learn things like we learn them when we're at the bottom.
When we're in the swamp, yes.
Yeah, so there are times where, we do get to get brought down. We don't stay up here all the time. But it is Craig Holiday. I'm going to interview him in a couple weeks, or next week, I think. But awesome guy. He talks about that. He was at Victory of Light, and he talked about being fully human and fully divine, and really embracing our humanity and embracing all the difficulties and all the challenges, that it's not about just being this enlightened being, at the top of the mountain, but you really become enlightened when you embrace the fullness of life, and you can see the beauty in all of it. That's really the answer, is really embracing all those things, because we have this idea that we just need to sit in meditation for 6 hours a day and everything's going to be good.
No,
and what I found is there's only a few people that can do that, number one. And we need those people, right? We need those people to bring us those messages. But that is not for most of us. Most of us got to go to work, have to do things, have to make money, have to live in the society that we're at. And honestly, we can't help people unless we're where they're at.
Right. Or unless you've been where they're at.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
You have to be able to pull those people along with you. Cool. Well, we are going to close this up a little bit, but thank you so much for that, for just all of that. It is great to be able to just have that, have those ideas. Do you happen to have any of those? I don't know. Did you have a handout or anything?
I didn't, but you know what? I do have some photos of grids that I've been doing.
Awesome.
If you want some, I can.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, send me that, and we'll try to post those for anybody who would like some more information on that, that they can see those too, and they could really kind of dive into that. So the next question is, how do we find you?
Okay. I am on Facebook, Instagram, at Jean Tindle, and Facebook is Spirit Dancer, I think, just. And www.spiritdancercrystals.com is my
Awesome.
website.
Awesome. Well,
Find me at all those places.
It's crazy how we, in this world of connection, we are like in 17 different places at once.
I know.
It's hard to manage.
you need somebody to manage it for you, actually.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like, I'm just like, how do I post on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn all at the same time, and post different messages for different audiences?
Yeah.
It's craziness.
It is.
All right. Well,
All
thank you very much.
This was fun.
Yeah, we will talk more.